There have been so many times in my music career that I've wanted to give up, and I'm going to share some of those and why you need to keep pushing on. Sure, you can pause, pivot, but don't quit, and why I haven't made a video on smart music business in so long. And one of the first things I can remember when I thought about quitting music was when I still had my 9 to 5 job. I still had my full time job, but I wanted to do music. I wanted to get signed to a record label. And we had this opportunity to do this showcase for this president of this record label. So he was flying in from America. We were doing this showcase, and me and my DJ, we practiced every single night. We were up until like 12 midnight, which is really late for me, but then I had to wake up early at like 6 a.m. the next day, and we did this for like a week, and I was exhausted, tired, and then we finally did the showcase. The showcase went amazing, but then after the showcase, we had a meeting with the label, and I somehow was convinced to bring all my hip hop crew into this meeting. And I talk about this in my book, Fighter, 5 Keys to Conquering Fear and Reaching Your Dreams. You've got to read it for the whole story. But long story short is they just destroyed the meeting. They started talking about all this stuff. Oh, what's his budget going to be? What about the music video? What about this? And the label was like, who are these guys? And they totally ruined it for me. And the guy that set it up was like, you know what, dude, I can't help you anymore. You really screwed up. And so my dreams were crushed at that moment. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And at the same time, I had gotten shingles, which is like this scab thing. I don't know. It was like my immune system was off. And so I was just like, you know what, God, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm just like, forget it. But something whispered in my voice, keep going, God. And I remember like swearing, punching my steering wheel. I remember God was like, look, I'm calling you to do this. Keep going. You know, I'm going to finish the good work I started within you. You know what I'm saying? And so we kept on going, and eventually I did quit my job and I did do music, and we ended up signing with that label for a period of time. And then I went $30,000 into debt, okay, after getting signed and doing the whole dream, right? And all of a sudden now I'm away from my wife at like a month and a half. Like I remember the first tour, we were gone for like a month and a half. And now I'm on all this debt, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is not the music dream I thought it was. And so when I got back, we were thinking about going back to my old job. And I did, when we weren't on tour, I had to take a few little jobs or whatnot, but I still didn't quit music. We kept writing. And then I remember buying onto this tour with this other band, and we were paying $150 a night to be on this tour. And they said I had a 15-minute set. But then when I showed up to tour and rehearsals and they're organizing everything, they're like, well, you're actually going to be the MC and you're going to perform. Your 15-minute set is going to be broken up in between you introducing each band. So I'd start the night, welcome everybody, do a song, and I'd be like, all right, this next band's going to perform now. And then once that band is done, I'd come back up on stage. Hey, did you guys like that? Oh, okay, I'm Manifest, and I'm going to perform another song. But the problem when I did the second song and every other song after that, the band was setting up behind me while I was performing, checking guitars, plugging in cables, bumping into me, because there's like 5 bands on that tour, 4 or 5 bands, I can't remember, but there's like no room on the stage. And so I'm here trying to connect with the crowd, and there's guys playing tracks, doing all this stuff while I'm trying to connect. And so it was like really embarrassing. And I'm paying $150 just to be on this tour, to be in front of more people, exposure. And then I'm paying, I think, $65 to ride with a band. And then I'm paying, then I'm trying to pay for my food or whatnot, which was normally catering. And then I was sleeping on hotel room floors. And I'm honestly asking myself, why am I doing this? And post down in the comments below if you ever thought, like, why am I doing this? What makes it worth it? Well, your purpose and your calling make it worth it. If God has called you to this, because it's not just, it wasn't for the money, that's for sure, because I was making over $70,000 a year at my job. And honestly, that kept on speaking to me, like, why am I on tour when I could be back making money? And this was a long time when I just traveled with an iPod or sometimes a DJ. But then I remember finally we had some success, and who knew this, but it was the next record that I ended up selling thousands and thousands of records in Japan, 10,000 records a week. And this is the funny thing, is that while you're working and you don't think something's happening, You don't know what God is doing in the background. You don't know what is happening, who's posting your songs, hearing about your songs. But if you quit, if you stop watering that seed, because I look at all these things we do for our music career like little seeds we're planting in our garden. And a farmer doesn't plant seeds one day and go out and expect a harvest the next day. But that's what we expect when we post something on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever it is. We're like, well, I posted the video yesterday. Why hasn't it blown up? And we don't realize there's this thing called time. You got to let things grow up. But sometimes we destroy our garden before we let our career really take root. You know what I mean? And the deeper the roots go, the more struggles, the more hardships you overcome, the stronger your roots become when you start to get this backlash and hate and all this stuff and people dissing you, right? Like people leave nice comments here. Sometimes they leave mean comments. If my roots weren't strong, I'd get blown over and I'd give up. Not just here on this channel, but in my music career and all the things to come. If all of a sudden I have all the success, well, that's great, but what also comes with success? Hate. I'm sorry, but the two come hand in hand. And if I hadn't gone through, or if you hadn't gone through what you're going through right now, that is a time that's making you stronger, so your roots can dig down deeper, so that when you're facing these storms, when you're facing these hardships, you don't quit. Because we did have more success, and I started selling all these albums. And then all of a sudden, Japan, they wanted me to have a band. And so I had to put a band together, and that brought different complications. And then we blew up in the US on radio. And then we decided to start touring with a band full time. And guess what happened when, I'm so used to like traveling by myself or with my wife or maybe one person. Now all of a sudden I'm traveling with like 3 or 4 dudes, some guys I don't even know, and all the attitudes, all the different personalities and all the different stuff that goes on with a band, all these stinky guys now in a band. And I'll never forget one night, all of a sudden I'm sharing a hotel room. And honestly, in my hotel room, so I could keep my marriage and keep my life together, I would always be playing preaching. I'd always be playing preaching. I never turned on the TV. I kept it quiet. I'd go to sleep early. I'd really take care of myself. All of a sudden, I got this band member turning on the TV, playing stuff. And honestly, I remember going into the bathroom and just crying. Because there's so much pressure of not just now all of a sudden just taking care of me. I got to pay each one of these guys. I'm the one who's paying for the insurance on the truck, the trailer, organizing stuff. And the pressure was just so much. And now I don't even have my quiet time. And I remember crying in the hotel room. And then I remember taking the elevator down and just swearing. And I'm a Christian guy, right? And I'm on a Christian tour at the time and everything. And I'm just so angry. And I'm just like, like F this, just so ticked off, right? And I remember just God's peace kind of came over me. Like, just again, keep going, Chris. Don't give up. And so I share these stories for you. Like, your story might be completely different. You might be going through some crazier stuff than I've gone through. But there's one thing I know about both of our stories, is that they're not done yet. Because you're still here. You're still watching this video and you're writing your story. And so I want to encourage you to keep writing through those pains, right? Literally, keep writing through those pains, those heartaches, and keep pushing through. Proverbs 24:16 says, even though a righteous man falls down 7 times, he gets up and goes again. And so if you're going through it right now, I just want to encourage you to get up and go again. Pause if you have to, pivot if you must, make some changes, because you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again and get different results, but don't quit. And that's the thing I had to learn in this music industry is like, what is working and what is not? Like, what producers are making hit songs, what aren't? What team members are good or great to work with? Who didn't have attitude? Oh, I'm going to hire that guitarist again. I'm going to hire that drummer again, or whatever it is, or that graphic designer, or you know what I mean? Like, what's working and what isn't? And if it's not working, stop doing it, right? And adopt something new. But I really want you to understand that things take time and you need momentum for your career to take off. We hadn't posted a video on this, or I hadn't posted a video on Smart Music Business in such a long time, is because it's hard to grow 2 businesses. There's Smart Music Business and there's Manifest, me as an artist, right? And so obviously I always love helping you and giving you advice, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to keep making videos again, but I had to pause because I really wanted to focus on my music career, and sometimes the other business can take over. And it's hard to focus on one thing. You have to follow one course until successful. You have to give all your attention to one thing long enough to make it grow. And yes, my music career had taken off. Things are moving and happening all the time. But I really wanted to grow my songwriting more, my TV and film syncs. And this year we just got a Super Bowl placement. We just got in the Olympics. And, I've been writing with all these different producers, and I'm writing every day in here. And what's funny is, though, even though I've been focusing on all these new songs and we're crushing it, the songs that got the placements happen to be 3 years old. So the fruit I'm seeing today is from the work I did 3 years ago. Isn't that interesting? So what I'm trying to say to you is, like, you got to put in the work today, and you've got to sow today if you want to reap tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say that again. If you want to reap tomorrow, you've got to sow from yesterday. And so I sowed all these seeds into my career for 20 years, right, of doing this. And so that's why we have so much momentum. That's why I can take the foot off the gas for Manifest, and it can keep going while maybe I'm building Smart Music Business and helping you. And so I've just had to kind of find the balance. And so I am going to still keep helping you guys. It might not be as crazy. I'm not doing the coaching and all that one-on-one stuff anymore, but I still want to keep making videos because people have impacted me so much, and I want to give back. But I just want to encourage you today that, like, it's going to take longer than you think. It's going to take more effort. It's going to take more team. It's going to take more money. But what I'd rather have than all those things is have my purpose, know my identity, know my calling, why I'm doing this. I want my biggest why. Because if you can really know your why, you'll figure out the how. You'll figure out how to make the money. You'll figure out how to get the team. You'll be more resourceful. So leave a comment below if you're not going to give up. I hope this video inspired you, and I look forward to seeing you in future ones.